Jerry, video games are the latest craze to sweep the country and most of the world, too. Millions of people are addicted to hours of gazing at electronic images on game screens in arcades and in their own homes. What makes video games so popular? Well, we search for an answer as we begin a special series on Video Fever, games people play.
It is a cacophony of sounds from a symphony of electronics. If you're filling your time capsules these days, don't forget a bit of Frogger, or Mousetrap, or Grand Champion, or Pac-Man, or Ms. Pac-Man. They are video games. They are as American, well, as international as war. We've got that too. In 1981, Americans popped in between $5 and $9 billion worth of quarters and tokens into the slots of arcade video games. Pac-Man alone digested $200 million for its manufacturer, Bally Corporation's Midway. No human could begin to compute how many Pac-Man dots were gobbled up, how many little children and adults spent their free time at the joystick of a video game control. One study estimates that we spent 75,000 man-years doing this. Don't despair those numbers. Before video games, there were other attractions. Here's a sound to remember: the quiet ride of the silver ball, the ding of the bells as it hit the bumpers.
There's a lot of us who remember pinball machines like these and pool tables like these, people my age and a little bit older. I spent a lot of time during the summer playing a pinball machine like this. And I remember the one thing about pinball machines is the score. You could always get it up to about 99,999 before it rotated back to zero. Now with electronic games, you can go to 1 million or 2 million or 9,999,999.
And getting there is half the fun and part of the frustration.
Oh, no.
Part of the fascination is the way the games are designed. Take 13-year-old Paul Glatzer playing Zaxxon. The game is three-dimensional. The screen is full of tricks to avoid. Your airplane moves faster than the speed of sound. Your tongue hungers for a kill.
I like the details on it. There's good details on the games.
Part of it is the sound. These games would not be any fun at all if there were no sound. But there is, and that is why people like Bert Price can stand at a machine for 2.5 hours, on 1/4, mind you, and play Galaga.
I could have done that for longer. Just I lost all my ships.
While we attack
The United Way kicked off an...
Huh? Well, video games fever has prompted a number of businesses to try to cash in on that billion-dollar craze. Book publishers and even movie producers are trying to make video games pay off for them. We go inside a video games factory and learn just how others are making their share of the big money as we continue our special service, Video Fever, games people play.
have created new industries, like these video game books, How to Win Video Games, The Secret of Video Game Superstars. The video game industry has now even given birth to its own motion picture, Tron, where a young computer genius is trying to break into a massive computer system.
Because, man, somewhere in one of these memories is the evidence.
So the young computer genius tries and gets zapped by a ray gun right into the machine and onto the computer-generated game grid to meet characters who are alter egos of their creators and to a place where, according to the movie ads, love and escape do not compute. Naturally, there is a Tron machine on the market now, 4 games in one, ray guns and all.
If there's been a mistake, I gotta see the guy in charge.
You will. In terms of the arcade video game, the guy in charge is not in Hollywood. Tron's big brother is in suburban Chicago at the Bally Corporation's Midway plant. Here they are turning out Tron games as fast as they can. These workers are under so much pressure, company executives asked us not to spend too much time shooting the factory for fear it would slow the workers. That gives you some idea how competitive the business is. Incidentally, the Bally Company is the same one who gave us Pac-Man, Ms. Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Defenders, and Asteroids. On the average, it can take up to 2 years and several $100,000 to get a video game from the drawing board to the arcade. In between, there are secret testing locations and programming changes.
We go by what we call what's in the cash box.
You know, like I was mentioning, the cash box is a cruel mistress.
And that's what we go by.
Jack Middle is president of Taito America. This is a company that first had Space Invaders until it sold the license to Bally. Sometimes this can get a little confusing. Taito let us videotape in a room called Deep Engineering. Without being overdramatic about the whole thing, this is the most secure room in the plant. This is where the game gets its life and personality from computer programmers. Because of the fierce competition among video game companies, Taito requested we do not use last names. But Rex is working with Mark on a new game called Toasters and Chainsaws. Mark is computing what will appear on the screen. Rex is using a computer to synthesize the sound you will hear when the game hits the arcades. It is hours and hours of hard work, often tedious for the company, not very rewarding until the
Most popular pastimes in the country right now, but will this popularity last is the question. Well, the makers of video games are gambling that it will, as we see in this part of our special series on Video Fever, the games people play.
Electronics is changing so rapidly. And with each change in electronics, it brings something new. So this is not a passing fad.
What is a fad is the kind of games that people like to play. Sometimes cute games are in, sometimes war games are in. War games are very big right now. There is so much at stake, there is so much money to be made, that the manufacturers can ill afford to ignore trends in the marketplace. But the trends often change faster than the electronic light of the ray gun, and that makes the risk all that much greater. It makes part of this business dumb luck. Take Space Invaders. It was invented in Japan by Taito, sold in America by Bally. There are about 72,000 Space Invaders from California to New York. Here's another exception, Pac-Man. Where Pac-Man should have lasted 3 or 4 months, it has lasted a year and 7 months. There are 96,000 of these machines on the market.
Before a video game is really a video game, it is nothing but a wooden box with a TV screen and a lot of wires in it. This video game would never be a video game if it weren't for these printed circuit boards. This is what gives the video game life and personality.
That's what makes it so easy for a company like Taito to call back a game like Grand Champion, reprogram it, maybe even rename it, and put it back on the market to make more money. That's a wise move in a business where the competition for our entertainment dollar is brutal.
And it's a very tough dollar. And it's getting tougher. It's not easy. We all want that same buck.
So Taito President Jack Middle will roll the dice soon on a game called Toasters and Chainsaws. 50,000 machines would be a good run if it meets the public fancy. I'm Josh Lippman.
To your health. Those stories are next.
The Israeli will see health warning labels anytime soon on video games, but it is true that too much of a good thing can be hazardous to your health. We'll find out now about Pac-Man's wrist and more as we continue our special series, Video Fever, Games People Play.
When you're trying to save the galaxy from certain extinction, you're bound to get a little carried away at the machine. The joysticks and buttons on today's video machines take about as much abuse as Rodney Dangerfield. These machines get no respect. And according to a recent study, neither does your body. For instance, Paul Glatzer, after an hour or so on Zaxxon.
When you play a long time, they start to hurt a lot.
What hurts?
Well, it depends what game you're playing.
This thing
game,
over here, yeah.
it's probably your fingers. Because you flick your fingers a lot and hit the buttons.
15-year-old David Nichols likes to play Pac-Man. In fact, he has gotten his score to more than 266,000 points on a single quarter. And he has found his hand hurting.
It's got a little thing on here that cuts your hand.
Your hand gets cut?
Yeah, they sanded it down there. I guess I got a new knob.
David Nichols and Paul Glatzer are not alone. We have football knee, tennis elbow, jogger's ankle, so why not? Pac-Man's wrist. Dr. Gary Meyerson and 2 colleagues did what most curious doctors do, a study. They talked with 134 video game players. As you can see, 65% of those surveyed suffered some injury, blisters, calluses, arthralgia or pain, or tendinitis, from their fingers to their shoulders.
The development of the calluses and blisters are obvious. The complaints and the swellings secondary to the injury to the tendons were while they were standing at the tables playing the games.
Meyerson says some of the games could be designed better so that one's wrists would bend naturally to the controls. Meyerson also suggests that serious game players consider an arcade glove. At both Bally Midway Company and Taito America, company representatives say they are not callous to these little problems, nor are they apparently very worried about them.
Children? Well, a growing number of parents happen to think so. And some areas have even passed laws restricting the use of the games. We examine this controversy as we conclude our special series, Video Fever, Games People Play.
When you walk into an arcade, any arcade, come with an open mind. An open mind is easy to expand. It might even be a good idea to heed the advice that one game player carries on his shirt. Maybe it's a warning. Video games, in a sense, are addictive. Not like drugs, more like the need to jog. There is probably no true physical dependence. On the other hand,
there certainly is a psychological dependence in the sense that this is a gratifying experience, that the person's peer relationships, source of self-esteem, enjoyment in life, are wrapped up in video games, just as they might be in bowling, running with your cronies with whom you run every Sunday or something of this sort. I have not met anybody who can't go through the day in withdrawal from video games.
Question: is it fair to blame juvenile delinquency on the video game craze?
I think the basic global statement that one could make is that healthy children tend to do things in healthy ways.
Communities around the country are passing laws banning the video games from their towns. Brush fires, to say the least, but they are getting a lot of attention. In Massachusetts, California, New York, in New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and in Georgia. In each of these states, a town or towns has either restricted licensing or banned the games altogether. Why? Fear, rumors, tall tales of corruption and evil. Psychiatrist Robert Alpern says if parents worry, they should make a trip to the local arcade and visit.
Many children has been an absolute boon. Kids who have not been good at much of anything else. Some of them have turned out to be exceptionally good at some of these video games. Talk about their high scores and their achievements as the most esteemed building activity in their entire life.